You're very welcome back. Well, preparations are being finalised for a virtual St Patrick's Day across the world and a virtual meeting between the Taoiseach and US President Joe Biden. Well, senior CNN White House correspondent Phil Mattingly is outside the White House in Washington, D.C. for us. Phil, thank you for speaking to us and lovely to speak to you. We're so used to seeing America go green for St Patrick's Day. I'm wondering how the country intends to mark the occasion given the restrictions that are in place.
Yeah, look, it'll be different. It'll be different like everything else has been different over the course of the last year. I still think you're going to see plenty of green. I think there's a fountain in front of the White House that will certainly be dyed green like always. I think a lot of the lighting in the White House will be as well. But in terms of the actual meeting between the two leaders, it's going to be different with an effort, I'm told, to have as much of the usual pageantry and recognition of history as they possibly can. I am told that Irish embassy officials brought over a bowl of shamrock earlier this week. That will be on the president's desk during this meeting, and they're going to try and replicate to the degree they can. Think also the Friends of Ireland luncheon that always occurs on Capitol Hill. It's one of the hottest tickets in town, usually in any march. That will be virtual as well. So it'll be different. It certainly might not have the pageantry that it often does, but I think everybody involved is trying to get as close to they can as what it usually is.
And what can be expected to be discussed at this virtual meeting between President Biden and our Taoiseach?
You know, I think the key issues when you talk to Biden administration officials up to this point, obviously COVID-19 is the top on every list for every conversation the president has with any world leader. And obviously that's no different here. Obviously economic ties as well. The relationship between this administration and how perhaps it differs from the last administration is something that will certainly come up. But I think you can't look past, I think, the genuine feeling of love and abiding respect the current president has for Ireland. And I think that's going to come up a lot. And I think whether Irish officials like it or not, the president is probably going to go on at length, as he often does, about his heritage and the importance of the country to not just the U.S., but to him personally.
Oh, no, we'll welcome that. We'll always take a compliment, I have to say, here in Ireland. I'm wondering, in terms of President Biden's Irishness, which you mentioned there, which he does speak at length about, does it actually have any influence on his outlook or on his foreign policy decisions? Or do you expect it to?
You know, I think I would separate it from his foreign policy decisions, but I think in terms of his outlook, it's interesting when you listen to him speak and having covered him on Capitol Hill as well as when he was vice president as well, the number of times he cites Irish poets, something from his grandmother or grandfather who obviously were born in the U.S., but their parents immigrated from Ireland. It clearly resonates kind of in every piece of his being to some degree. I think he often cites his parents or his grandparents citing sayings or kind of ways of going about life and business that they may have taken from Ireland. And I do think that is central to his core. It's central to how he operates. It's central to his work ethic. He will say that himself. In terms of actual policy decisions, I don't necessarily know that his relationship to the country will shape what he decides to do or not do. I do know very clearly from talking to administration officials here that they believe that this is an opportunity to reset a relationship that, in their view, was really unsettled over the course of the last 4 years. And I think whether or not President Biden hails from Ireland or his great-grandparents hail from Ireland or not, that's their view, that this is an opportunity to reset an extraordinarily valuable relationship to the U.S.
Do we know how President Biden intends to celebrate the day other than this virtual meeting?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. We've been trying to get details out of administration officials because of how important the day is to him. I was talking to an administration official early and was trying to send them clips from his visit to Ireland back in 2016 as maybe hey, I understand how important this is. Do you want to give me some information about what he's going to do tomorrow? And I struck out. I completely struck out. Look, I think that he will try and replicate, I kind of said this already, but he'll try and replicate to the degree he can what these visits traditionally are. Obviously, it'll be virtual. There will be a sharing of gifts, is what I've been told as well. He will participate, I think, in the luncheon in Capitol Hill. Obviously, the vice president is also going to have a conversation and play a role, too. One of the big questions we all have right now is he going to be going to Mass tomorrow? He goes to Mass weekly, and I think there's some expectation that may be coming as well. But we'll see. I think the expectation from the press corps perspective is we're prepared, to the extent COVID allows it, to maybe be surprised tomorrow.
Just one final question, Phil. Our own Taoiseach here has come under some pressure to ask President Biden for any surplus or spare COVID-19 vaccines that he may be able to lay his hands on. He said he is not going to do that. I'm wondering what President Biden's position has been in terms of your own vaccine supply and the ability of the United States to share some of that excess supply with the rest of the world.
You know, it's interesting you ask. I asked the president this today. He was leaving the White House in a trip to Pennsylvania to talk about his coronavirus relief bill that was just signed into law. And I asked him, where do they stand? There's a recognition inside the administration that they have ordered and will soon have completed orders for far more vaccine than is necessary to vaccinate every adult in the U.S. The president told me that he is currently in conversations with a number of world leaders. It is something that is under consideration. And he said he would have more information about that soon. Here's kind of the baseline position of the Biden administration up to this point. Their focus, and they make very clear publicly, their focus is to ensure there's enough vaccine for every U.S. adult to get vaccinated. They will absolutely hit that mark by the end of May. They are involved in COVAX and several different kind of bilateral efforts to get vaccine to maybe lower or more middle-income countries as well. I think the reality is it's only a matter of time before President Biden, before his top administration officials acknowledge that they have more vaccine than they probably need, and they will start to figure out how to disperse that to allies. How they go about doing that and when they go about doing that, I think, is an open question at this point.
All right, we'll leave it there. But Phil Mattingly, thanks so much for your time this evening and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. You as well.